Okay. All right.
Got it.
Well, I presume you finished Energy Gates.
Yes, yes.
Good. So, Taoist meditation first starts with only releasing whatever is blocked inside you. So it's a general clearing out of your system. And this is something that's done on a normal basis because you cannot live in this world without accumulating all sorts of influences. And the Taoists call these things red dust. The Chinese from the north of China were always covered with dust from the prairies and areas north of them. And so it meant that it wasn't clear. And in the Indian traditions, they talk about a mirror covered with a light dust, a fine layer of dust. And until you clear that away, you can't actually see what's in the mirror. So can't see any sort of a personal or universal pristine spiritual state if essentially you have a lot of negative conditioning that's on top of it. And most of us who live a normal life, our lives are based upon the rules of red dust. The Buddhists, for example, use the term samsara, and the Taoists just talk about red dust. But what they're all talking about is the way the depth of the mind gets conditioned in a certain way. Often that is not that useful for people because although they may clean and they may get rid of whatever accumulation there is, and that takes the burden of the negative effects off the mind, away from your mind. And it takes it away from that which blocks you from realizing spirit. In all these various different ways, it doesn't necessarily help you reduce or get relief from something you specifically know you have. And whether it now goes on for the next 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, or 5 million years, you know this has got to come to an end. Now, many people have this for a lot of reasons. Some people have it from their parents, some from something that was inside the mind the day that they came out of the womb. And some people have it because of events that have influenced them. And some people have it for any number of reasons. And it actually doesn't matter why you have it. There is always a common focus. People say, I want to understand why, and then that's going to make it okay. Well, the Taoists have a very old phrase that they've used for thousands of years, and it comes from China, where historically torture was part of Chinese standard political process. I should mention that ancient Rome, beg your pardon, was similar in that regard. Torture was a part of everything. Think of Jesus Christ. So the Chinese have had a great appreciation, not only that torture could be used and done, and they were some of the most sophisticated torturers the world has ever seen. But they had a phrase when it comes to understanding why you think you have all this crap inside you. And I'm using the word crap because that's what negative conditioning is. It is that which causes endless pain, suffering, and dysfunctionality. And although you know what's wrong, you can't do anything about it. I know it's wrong and I do it again. I'm going to correct myself, but I'm going to do it again. It doesn't matter how many reformations you go through, you must go and do it again because the root of it has never been expunged. It's still there, and that's all there is to it. So the Taoists had this phrase. If you're on a torture table, and it's been going on for a length of time, and you kind of know you're being tortured, and you're reached that point that, shall we say, you're getting what it is, now we go to you are having two choices. Choice number one is that they'll let you know why you're being tortured, who ordered it, and all the details of why you're ending up in this position. So you can understand why you're in this. Or the second choice, just get off the table. Now, if you can get off to the torture table and can get out of town, it actually doesn't matter why they were torturing you. What does matter is whether that continues or ceases. So the whole process of dissolving is having a way of taking whatever negative energy is built up or could be inside you and completely releasing it until it's finished. It's gone. In which case, you've not only gotten off the table, but you've taken a horse and gotten over a couple of hills. Of course, that doesn't mean you don't have something else in there. It's very hard to tell how much anybody has or doesn't have, because from the point of view of reincarnation, you may have done stuff many, many times for entire lifetimes. And of course, it may just be that you're repeating patterns, and human beings are very prone toward repeating patterns. So when you know, I am on this particular torture table, just generally clearing or generally taking some of the torture implements away doesn't really get you out of the difficulty you're in. You want it over, finished. And so the Taoists developed a method where they concentrated all their energy to be able to go after specifically what is bothering you. And in that process, you're going to end up dissolving all sorts of other stuff. The way this works is that during the course of a day, or if you don't have any other time, at least for 5 minutes before your meditation, you're thinking about this thing, whatever it is that's really bothering you. Parents, war, perceived wrongs, things you think you did to other people that you have guilt over, whatever your issues are. There are so many possibilities that it is somewhat useless to try and think in terms of what a possibility is. What is useful to focus on in this thing is so that you know if this gets over, whether it takes days or a very long time, I want it done. So what you know is that this is what you would like to get over. So you sit and you just think, consider. The deeper inside yourself you can go, the better. Let that part of you think. If all you have is your conscious mind, well, great. But if you have your heart mind or your unconscious mind, and you can feel when you're on it, it's even better. And then you make an agenda, which means that A is horrible. I want an agenda which is B that gets rid of A. So maybe your agenda is just, I want to be free of everything to do with this A. Forget this forgiveness stuff. You can forgive somebody, but not be free of them. You forgive them, but in these 7 other places, you don't. So you make an agenda for what you can figure out, and it doesn't matter because you can change that agenda, but you just don't do it quickly. If it keeps on going and you want to change it every couple of weeks because something else is coming up, well, that's okay, but not that you flip every 10 minutes and try and change your agendas. That doesn't work. So as a phrase they used to have used to have in India says, if you want to hit water, you're better off digging 1 well 20 feet deep than digging 20 wells 10 feet deep. When you want to make an agenda, you don't do it in 5 minutes. You think about whatever it is that really is bothering you, and you think about it for days, because you really start thinking about it, what you really start thinking about what it is, but not really. It's that, but it wasn't really that. It was really this. Maybe it was this, or was it that? But if you do this for several days, at some point, you're going to settle, and something inside you is going to feel that this is right. And it doesn't matter if it's actually the best or worst agenda in the world. What does matter is that everything inside you is in agreement. And this is the most critical part about doing agendas, to find an agenda. Now, next, when you decide what this agenda is, several times during the day, if you can, you just consider it, and you let your mind go wherever it goes. You're not going to get a logical answer to your agenda. Forget that right from the beginning. But what you can do is get the energy of your mind to go toward an agenda. That you can do. So then you sit, and in the same way that you dissolve ice to water, water to inner space, you do the same thing, going down in stages, dissolving that which you can't resolve. Take it to the next level, the next place. Let it go down, and the ball of string starts unraveling. But you don't get to the point you think you have it. You get all sorts of cute little, what Bruce calls dendrite experiences, like snapping your fingers when asked, what is the sound of one hand clapping? It's glib and it's cute, but it doesn't actually get to the bottom of what it is. Just as an aside, that whole thing in Zen is about actually finding out what primordial sound is. because the one hand can't clap, but the sound that pervades everything through all time and space is something you can find. And that is what that koan is about. What matters is that when you do dissolving, that finally, when it goes, it is going to be like all this stuff in you is going to start releasing. So that's an agenda. And then if you reach the point when you have to stop, when you have to go to work, you have to do whatever you have to do, you haven't finished. All you do then is you just kind of stop, and with your mind, as best you can, you just sink your energy down to your lower dantian and let it just sit there. And whether you realize it or not, that will keep the process going until the next time you do it. Your system will be working on this inside, internally, and at odd moments in the day, whenever you have a few minutes, you can think about your agenda again. And if you do think about your agenda, it isn't going to solve it. The beginning level of meditation deals with just reforming your thoughts. Those methods are fairly easy. We're not talking about reforming a thought. We're thinking about freeing the place where those thoughts even come from to begin with. So you just, with your mind, sink your energy as best you can, become calm, and then go on with whatever you have to do. You will start finding that one agenda slowly but surely starts incorporating other agendas, because everything inside of you is connected. None of it is independent. So we start with anxiety. So sit, settle your body. Be very aware of your breath. Allow it to flow softly. Allow it to settle your body. And become very comfortable inside your body. Now go to the top of your head and start dissolving down ice to water, water to gas. So your agenda is anxiety. And just for today, for a few minutes, pick something about anxiety that you feel is the core of it for you. If this got solved, my anxiety would go away. So you get to the crown of your head and you get what that anxiety is. And now you start dissolving downward. And there are many ways that you can go with agendas. It's not like there's just one or two. The first one is that you can practice in any way that you deal with anxiety. more on the surface. You deal with what are the triggers that when they go off, you get anxiety. And that's what we're doing right now. You could go to what is the anxiety that is deeper inside you, that you're conscious, then your conscious mind. So now you run into the world of the unconscious mind, the world of the heart mind. Or it could be, what is anxiety, the anxiety that's coming from? Where is it coming from, really? Really deep, all pervasive, causing thinking patterns, not just thoughts, but patterns. Guilt can go so deep inside a person that it's amazing. Maybe you just had guilt because you had it. But most people are educated to get guilt. Very few babies given a free life will ever have guilt come up. They may feel remorse from harm they've done, if they perceive that harm has been done. But just to feel guilty because there's some sort of rules or beliefs that say you should be guilty, well, maybe not. I don't know if many kids in the jungle would come up with that. If they did, then it is something that's really deep. But then the next level is conditioning, whether it's from your parents, the school, the church, TV, social media, any reason. Just take common nonsense that everybody believes and everybody repeats. Basic ideas that all your teachers told you were so, and if you didn't do it, there's punishment. And of course, if there is punishment, that's not good. That will make you anxious. The threat of punishment will make most people have anxiety. So anxiety will start coming up. How deep is that inside you? How deep is it inside of you? Now, if you wanted to actually deal with what's on the surface, or a little bit deeper, not the really deep stuff, then you're going to have to dissolve everything that is blocked from the crown of your head to your heart. Because inside your heart has the electrical activity which is more than your brain. It's like a giant brain in your body. The heart is a giant brain, but for that matter, everything that is conditioning with it, the way, conditioning it all the way down to your heart. So that's the first step of your agenda, which could take a while because it all depends on how powerful an effect any given agenda has on you. What's the way in which you get tortured? What inside you prevents you from having joy and happiness? So everyone knows what anxiety is. I'm not even denying that there are realistic reasons to be anxious about walking into a war zone. Many cities around the world have certain neighborhoods that are dangerous. Awareness or fear or anxiety is a reasonable thing if you have to go there. But when you're sitting alone in your room in a safe place, and you're getting anxiety over the idea of going to one of these places, this has nothing to do with the reality of that place. This has to do with what's inside you and what it is reacting to. So you are dissolving, and you dissolve, and you go through the process, going around transferring the energy at a height level to each place, until you finally get to a release, or you drop to the next level and do the same thing until you get a release. You go through the same process, starting on the outer surface of the body, and over time working deeper and deeper into the core of your body, where energetically your central channel is located. But as we go through all of this, you have anxiety. So now we consider something else. There are lots of ways of dealing with this. You can dissolve the energy of the anxiety, and that's one way to go about it. You also can try and start becoming sensitive to what inside you are all the images that are triggering the anxiety. If you are a male or a female, depending upon where you go, you could be getting images of being attacked. You can get images of having your head cracked open. You can have images of someone shooting at you. You can have images of 5 or 10 people beating you up. And that would be if you were talking about getting into a dangerous part of town. But still, that can bring up anxiety. There's nobody who went to a war zone knowing that they were going to go into combat who didn't have some degree of anxiety. That would be very natural. So anxiety is provoking fear. So you can start going through and find out what things inside you are causing this fear. Now, if you're a very visual person, start off looking for images of whatever it is, or make up an image and put that in your head for a moment and see if the anxiety fish bites the hook. You make an image or you do something. Have some idea and see what naturally flows into your head. See if that starts provoking anxiety inside of you. Start off with a bodily feeling and then dissolve it. Ice to water, water to inner space. Now, maybe you're not a super visual person, but you may be very, very auditorily sensitive. The sound of a word to you is almost the same as the reality of the word. If I say apple pie, it doesn't mean you are eating an apple pie. But if you start salivating at the sound of apple pie, that's what's occupying your mind. That is the impression that's occupying your mind. So it might be that you just say a sentence or two, or maybe just have to repeat something inside you until the anxiety starts rising. And you know, because anxiety has a bodily feeling attached to it. You'll vibrate in a certain way. You'll get nervous in a certain way. Your body will want to twitch or shift positions to do something in a certain way. So now you go, oh, I found it. Then you start dissolving the energy of whatever it is that you have found. You have to release the energy that's in that. Because that is ultimately what the blockage is composed of. But there are all kinds of anxieties, maybe about whether your money is going to get taken away, or a lot of anxiety about the politics you play that give you all your power and control, that something is going to blow up that. So it could not be a physical reason, but what about if it's a mental reason? If it's mental, what images pop up? And you dissolve that energy. Because all of this is going to be inside that blockage as you dissolve down. Or maybe you're very sensitive to psychic energy. Same thing. What is causing your psychic energy to go crazy? You're dissolving and you just start looking. And if you're feeling psychic energy inside you, what inside there is really disturbed? Yes, you can just dissolve the psychic energy, and that'll take you a long way. Some people just do that, and it could release whatever is the blockage. But you also can start feeling what inside that psychic energy is really bothering you. And your access route may be feeling just the sensation of feeling, seeing, visualizations, whether they're clear like a picture, or it's just the feeling of a picture or sound. It may just be vibrations. And the vibrations may not turn into words. They may not have any coherency. But understand, any internal dialogue, any words running in your unconscious mind, when you reduce it back to their source, you have vibrations, pure vibrations. So as you do this, the first step is to go from the crown of your head down to your heart. Because ultimately, it's in reducing and releasing the heart that the pure source of ideas that are causing these blockages and the pure source of the emotions that are ricocheting around and tearing you apart can be released. So pick your emotions. One part of anxiety is an emotion. It's something about the future. The future is going to turn oh so nasty. That's anxiety. But is part of it in the energy of it? Your access route may not be through sound or inner vision or feeling or smell or even taste. There is an old phrase that says, you can taste life, but you can't taste death. And the taste of loss. Taste is a powerful sense. And those are external senses eventually. If you go in far enough, you start finding internal senses. You start finding the senses that dominate the psychic aspect of yourself. And that is very strong, but you may never get anything psychic. You may be at the emotional or mental level, but still these things have to be resolved at the heart. So once you resolve them at the heart, and I'm not saying how long it takes with an agenda, don't get the idea that this may happen in an hour or two. This might take months or days or weeks. No one can say how long it's going to take because it depends upon what's inside you and how long it takes to resolve it. But now we have something else. Anxiety lives in your body. Even if you have purely mental anxiety, where words are driving your head crazy, it is being generated from your body. If your body were completely calm, you wouldn't have it. And any form of anxiety is eventually being triggered by your internal organs and glands. So your internal organs and glands, they don't calm down. You're going to keep getting that anxiety. That is what's going to happen. So now you still continue going downward. Ice to water. Water to inner space. And you start moving down toward your lower dantian. And by the time everything releases into your lower dantian, and you go to emptiness, that's great. When you come out of that emptiness, you're still going to go lower because you're not done yet. This will give you that relief. And that's why, for example, in Zen Buddhism and in many beginning Taoist practices, the whole thing is just about getting your energy to truly drop from your head down to your lower dantian, because that alone really will release most of the common discomfort of negative emotions and conditions that most people have. And that's good. But it's not all of it. Ice to water, water to inner space. And you take it down to your lower dantian. When you have it in your lower dantian and your head your heart and your lower dantian all go clear. You know you're almost there, but you still have the realities. You have a body that moves and walks around. And the simple, ordinary daily actions of getting up, sitting down, and doing this or that can rebuild up or can re-trigger this stuff. You only have to have the right conditions. So now you go for this last thing. You go down ice to water, water to inner space, and you dissolve downward, making sure that on the way you really dissolve your genitals. Because sexual energy has a way that it can bring back anxiety. Sexual energy is directly felt and tied into life and death. We didn't come from the stork. You have to chill that out. I didn't say make it numb or make it dead, but you have to get it smooth. And then you keep on going down your legs, your thighs, your knees, your ankles, and your feet, until finally everything that you are dissolving downwards goes to the bubbling well in your feet. And from there, it just goes to the ground. And once you dissolve all that and your bubbling well goes clear, that means at least at this stage of the game, you've actually cleared everything in your body that is necessary to trigger anxiety. Now, Taoism is different in terms of meditation. All the things that they do to release a person's mental and emotional and psychic and karmic stress and the stress of their essence, they always ground to the physical body while you're alive on this earth. This method is used for while you're on the earth, because it's taking advantage of what the earth does to you. It condenses everything inside you, and your energy bodies are easy to bring close to each other. This way they can be easily resolved. So you keep on dissolving downward. Ice to water, water to inner space. And when your feet go completely quiet, because you have moved into emptiness enough, then you just practice sitting like this for a while until your body shifts from having an expectation, no matter how subtle, of anxiety returning to where you don't have any expectations at all. And anxiety does not have to return. Let us close. Sending all benefit gained from this practice out to help all the sentient creatures of the universe. So obviously, one of the things that I would like you to do is to find some time over the next few days to really think about what anxiety you would like to focus or need to focus on, and then to take that into your practice. And to focus on that one until we meet the next time. So any last minute thoughts or questions? So I will send you all the notes in the video. There's a lot of stuff there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.